and the places that you know seem like fantasy. There's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold, with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
Time, there were 3 little engines who lived on a small railway on the island of Sodor. Their names were Duke, Stuart, and Falcon. Duke was the oldest. It was named after his grace, the Duke of Sodor. Duke was fond of this and loved to keep little engines in order. Whenever they did anything that Duke thought wrong, he would tell them, "That would never suit his grace." Other engines came and went, but Duke, Stuart, and Falcon stayed forever. Stuart and Falcon, on the other hand, liked to call Duke Grandpuff. One day they said, "Engines come and engines go, Grandpuff goes on forever." "You impertinent scallywags," said Duke one day. "Whatever are you two coming to?" "It's just harmless fun, Grandpuff," said Stuart. "Nothing wrong with that." "Well, you better mind, unless you want to end up like Smudger." "Oh," they stuttered. "What happened?" "I'll tell you. His real name was Stanley, but I called him Smudger, because to me, he was like a brown stain of mud on a white new coat. Smudger was very careless with his trains. He came off the rails violently and didn't care if he hurt anyone. I warned him to be careful, but he never listened." "Listen, Dokie, who worries about a few spills?" "We do here," I told him, but Smudger just laughed. Until one day, manager decided he was going to make Smudger useful at last. Smudger wasn't laughing then. "Why? What happened to him?" "He turned him into a generator. He still powers behind our shed, never to move again." Stuart and Falcon behaved better after that, and the engines continued their work. Then, hard times came. The mines in the hills closed down. It had gotten so bad that the manager had to sell his only engines left. Everyone wanted to buy Stuart and Falcon. No one wanted Duke. They thought him too old. At last, Stuart and Falcon were sold to a scholarly railway. "Cheer up, Grandpuff," said Stuart. "We'll keep you in our shed when we get to our new railway if you come and visit." "I'll miss you too," said old Duke as he saw Stuart and Falcon leave, hoping to see them again someday. Duke's driver and fireman snuggled him tightly in his shed. They oiled and greased him one last time, and then said goodbye before closing his doors. "Oh well," said Duke. "I'll go to sleep. It'll help me pass the time." As for Stuart and Falcon, you may know them today as Sir Handel and Peter Sam. As for Duke, over the years, his small little forgotten railway was overgrown with trees, mud, and land. Even if you went there today, you wouldn't have known there was a railway here, let alone a little engine sleeping inside. Stepney the Bluebell engine was enjoying his time on Sodor. "I say," said Stepney, "you've got everything here. Lines, trucks, trains, you name it. Back on my old line, we barely had any of these." Thomas and Toby were surprised about this, but Percy was glad. "I know what you can do, Stepney," said Percy kindly. "Why don't you help take my train while I do your work?" "I say, that would be a lovely idea," Stepney. The drivers agreed, and the 2 engines swapped. Stepney took some slate to the harbor, and then returned home with some empty trucks.
As he puffed home, he came by a cricket game. To get away from the cricket's arm, his driver stopped Stepney near the bridge near a signal. They watched the cricket game nicely. Everything went fine until they hit the cricket ball too high. Up the ball went, and down into one of Stepney's trucks. The signal went down, and Stepney left.
I say, gosh, that was a pretty rotten thing to do.
The men soon decided they needed to get their ball back, for it was their only one. "I say, old beans," said one of them, "we should get Carlin." Carlin was their old car. 4 of the men got inside, and they drove off. They soon catched up with Stepney, but his driver thought they were being silly. "If those jokers want a race, then they can have one. Move faster, Stepney." "The engine's going through a tunnel," said Caroline. "Master will stop now." But Master didn't stop. "I'm hot. Master should know by now my systems will overheat." But Master didn't go home. He continued to drive. Caroline and the men finally reached Stepney as Stepney made it to the yard. They found their cricket ball, and Stepney's crew apologized. But then there was trouble. "I say, old bean, I think our car Caroline has broken down. Now we'll never get back to the old cricket game." "I say," said Stepney, "I have an idea." Stepney carried Caroline back to the cricket field with the men. Stepney's crew soon watched from the field, while Stepney waited near the bridge. The cricket game went on as planned. Even Caroline was impressed. "Some engines can be very useful."
When Sir Handel first came to Duke's old line, he was called Falcon. Now Falcon had a lot to learn.
The manager came to see him one day and said he was pleased with his work so far. "Now, Falcon," he went on, "you must learn the mountain road." "Yes, please, sir," said Falcon, excited. "So tomorrow you shall go double heading on it with Duke. He'll explain everything." Falcon didn't like this. He thought Duke was a fusspot and a regular old fuddy-duddy. Duke's train was one for holidaymakers. He called it the picnic. Falcon was ready when Duke arrived. Duke drew forward beside him. "Listen," he said, "the mountain road is difficult. You take the train and I'll couple in front." "No," said Falcon, "I'll lead. How can I learn the road with you lumbering ahead, blocking the view?" "Suit yourself," said Duke shortly, "but never mind the view, attend to the track." "Look at the track," he puffed again on starting. "Never mind the view." Fusspot, puffed Falcon on starting. Fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy. They rattled through the first tunnel, looped round, recrossed the river and entered the second, climbing all the time. Their speed grew slower and slower. Don't dawdle, urged Falcon. No hurry, puffed Duke stolidly.
Soon they approached a tunnel. Falcon didn't like the tunnel. It was curved and he couldn't see. I want to get out, he sighed. One moment everything seemed safe. But then suddenly, Falcon was derailed and hung dangerously over the edge.
"Young idiot," he hissed. "Stop it! I can't hold you if you shake." Falcon tried hard to stop shuddering.
Duke's driver and fireman worked quickly to make the 2 engines safe again. Then came more trouble. "Water!" cried Duke's fireman. "Duke needs water, quickly!" Luckily, there was a workman's cottage nearby. Soon everyone was passing jugs, buckets, kettles, and saucepans filled with water until Duke's thirst was quenched. All the while, Duke was building more strength. At last, with everyone's help, he was able to pull Falcon back onto the rails. Then they started off once more. The manager was waiting at the top station. He apologized for the accident. "Your Duke," said the passengers, "is a hero. He stood firm like a bulldog and wouldn't let go." Falcon was grateful too. "Thank you for saving me, Duke. I don't know why you bothered after I'd been so rude." "Oh, well," replied Duke, "you just had a new coat of paint. It would have been a pity if you'd rolled down the mountain and spoiled it."
That would never have suited his grace.
Duke's picnic was a train for summer visitors. It was his special train. Many people came year after year just to see him. He always pulled it, even if he felt poorly. "I mustn't disappoint my friends," he would say. "That would never suit his grace." The morning run gave no trouble. He took his passengers up the line and stopped anywhere they wanted. He and his driver knew all the best places for picnics. "Beep, beep, beep," he whistled as they waved goodbye. "Please don't be late when I come back. We might miss the boat, and that would never do." One day, Duke felt poorly at the end of his first picnic journey. He'd been short of steam and was glad of a rest before starting back. His driver and fireman had just finished cleaning his tubes when Stuart bustled in. "Hello, Grandpuff. Are you short of puff?" "Nothing of the sort. Routine maintenance. Tell you what, Grandpuff, you're getting old. You need to take care. We'll have to keep you in order, or one day you'll break down." "Ha!" said Duke. "That'll be the day. You keep me in order." Impudence. He puffed away, whooshing crossly from his drain cocks. Duke couldn't stay cross for long. It was a lovely evening. All the picnic parties were ready. The coaches ran well, and they lost no time anywhere. "Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better," he chanted happily. They began to climb. The work was harder, but Duke didn't mind. "I've plenty of steam," he panted. "We'll be up in a couple of puffs." He needed more than that, though. His puffs changed to wheezes. "It's not so easy. It's not so easy. My old valves would start blowing now. But I'll manage. I'll manage." But the leaks became worse. And soon he was hoarsely with escaping steam. Duke's driver examined him carefully at the next station, while the guard went to telephone. Anxious passengers gathered round. "2 engines are coming," the guard reported. "With luck, we'll be away in 15 minutes. You'll easily catch your boat." Falcon buffered up in front. "Poor old Grandpuff," he hushed importantly. "What a shame you've broken down." "Peep, peep, peep, peep. This is the day," whistled Stuart cheekily. He was coupled on behind. "Peep, peep, peep. Are you ready?" whistled Falcon. "Peep, peep, peep. Yes, I am," replied Stuart, and away they went. Falcon had left his train at the middle station. Arrived there, the cavalcade split up. Falcon went down to the port with Duke's picnic, while Stuart headed Falcon's train with Duke coupled behind. Stuart was excited. "Fancy me rescuing Grandpuff. This is the day, this is the day, this is the day," he chortled gleefully. "Poor Grandpuff," he thought. "He's much too old. We'll have to keep him in order now. Kindly, but firmly, that's it. We'll allow him to have runs sometimes, but Falcon and I'll do the real work. Grandpuff will be cross, but we can't help that. Poor old engine, poor old engine," he puffed kindly. Duke was by no means crippled. His valves sounded worse than they were. He could have kept his train, but his driver said, "No, our passengers will only be worried." Duke agreed. He didn't want to spoil their day. He listened to Stuart chortling and smiled. He and his driver had their own joke ready. At first, they used just enough steam to keep moving, but the last half-mile was uphill. "Now," said his driver. He advanced the regulator, and Duke responded with a will. He puffed and roared as though the whole train's weight was on his buffers. People heard the noise from far away. They ran to see what was happening. At the work station, Duke uncoupled and went along the loop to the water tank. A boy on the platform asked, "Why were there 2 engines on this train, Daddy? It's most unusual." "It is," said his father, "but today was different. Stuart broke down, you see, and I had to call Duke out to help him. Duke had a hard job too, by the sound of it." "Well, for crying out loud!" exclaimed Stuart. He vanished in a cloud of steam. Duke wheezed alongside. "A poor old engine," he chuckled. "It's no good, Stuart. You can't win."
Toby the tram engine has cow catchers and side rods. He uses them to clear animals off his line. Daisy thought they were quite silly. "They're not silly," snapped Toby. "If an animal ever came onto my line, I just toot, and they go away." "Not always." "Well, it works for me just fine." "Even bulls?" "Even bulls." Daisy went away. As Daisy went on her trip, she tooted whenever an animal came near the line. At a level crossing, she tooted at a farmer and his cart. The horse was startled. At the next station, a policeman spoke to her. "Champion the bull is on the line," he said. "He's gone loose. You might need to push him out of the way." "Now I'll show Toby how I can handle bulls," said Daisy snootily. Champion was a nice bull, but he had not eaten breakfast fully, so he broke away from his carriage, rolled down a hill, and ended on the rails. But he didn't mind. He just wanted his breakfast. Daisy soon came across Champion and was annoyed that Champion wouldn't look at her. She tooted at him constantly, but didn't do anything. "If you're going to just stand there, at least look at me," said Daisy to the bull. Her driver and the policeman tried to get Champion's attention, but it was no use. Champion then looked at Daisy. "Ugh, what an ugly face," snooted Daisy. "Come on, Daisy," said her driver. "Push out of the way." "I know he's harmless, and you know he's harmless, but does he know? If I bump into him, his horns could hurt me, or him." And that was that. Back at the station, the passengers told Toby what had happened. Toby was in hysterics. "If a bull ever came up to me, I just toot and it goes, eh?" mocked Toby. Daisy was too stubborn to respond. Toby just ignored her and went to get Champion. Toby cornered Champion with men with spears. They soon got Champion back into his carriage. For the rest of Daisy's trip, Percy and Toby gave her pity looks. At the end of the day, Daisy went to the last station where some boys were waiting for her. One of them shook him up and told her, "I've got a quarter of bull's eyes," he said. "I like them, do you?" "Keep them away, you disgusting dirty pig," Daisy shouted, and she went back to her shed.
His small little forgotten railway was overgrown with trees, mud, and land. Even if you went there today, you wouldn't have known there was a railway here, let alone a little engine sleeping inside.
I don't know why we have to have a king like that.
Gentlemen, I do not know what you are talking about. "We want to find Duke," said the thin clergyman. "We want to restore him and place him back on the Scarlet Railway where he belongs. Gentlemen, do you even know where Duke has been all this time? Nobody's seen him since 1947.
An older man, who was the father of the late Duke of Sodor, came up with his wheelchair. I know where Duke's line has been all these years. It's simple. If we travel up the mountains, deep into the valleys. Aha! There it is, the old station. If Duke's anywhere, it's there.
That sounds like a jolly idea, said Harold, another old businessman. What are we waiting for? We shall go and we will fund the project.
All the men agreed, and they would soon head off tomorrow morning.
Everyone set off to the mountains far away. The days went by, and the search grew harder, but the rescuers wouldn't give up. Let's go this way, they said. But there was still no sign of Duke. He's here somewhere, they said. They scrambled over hills, struggled over ditches. At last, their search ended, quite by accident. We've found him. We've found our sleeping beauty. Excuse me, inquired Duke. Are you a vandal? Driver told me vandals break and smash things. Bless you, no, laughed the rescuers. We've dropped in because we couldn't find your door. Falcon and Stuart will be pleased to see you. So they did remember, sighed Duke.
They hurried Duke onto a flatbed in a lorry, and Duke was driven away. Donald and Oliver soon collected Duke on a flatbed to the steamworks, and once Duke was repaired, he was put on a flatbed and put near the narrow gauge shed. Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel were very glad to see their Grandpuff again.
Wake up, old-timer, said Sir Handel. You and Baron Scalawags.
I remember, said Duke. 2 idle good-for-nothings called Falcon and Stuart. Good for you, Grandpuff. We're glad you've come. We can keep you in order now. Keep me in order? Be off. Impudent scallywags.
Sometimes I feel that love is in the air, when every playful bird in flight is half of a pair. I see lovers losing their hearts everywhere, and that's when I feel most alone. I wish that I had someone beautiful and sweet, whose gentle hand in mine would make my heart skip a beat. The sound of her voice would make me light on my feet, whose love was for me alone. I dream of how it would feel to be needed. I dream of someone that I could call my own. I dream of all that we'd share when love is in the air.
So they did remember.
And that's when I feel most alone.